here we are. How you doing? How you liking my acoustic bass that I made?
This is it's actually really comfortable. Sounds great.
Yeah.
My roommate's got this one he built out of a kick drum and then took an old Ibanez neck and grafted it on top, and he's got a big stand up.
So wait, so you gotta paint me a picture here on that one. You made the body of the bass out of a kick drum?
Yeah, so if you think of it as a stand up bass, the body of it's the kick drum. He's off the skin. He's got a homemade bridge.
Is the skin like the skin the
bass
skin?
drum
is like at the same angle a bass drum would typically be at, like with the skin like horizontal? Like
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you think of like the old wash tub basses.
Yeah.
So except he's got the kick drum here, and then grafted onto the top of it is an old Ibanez EX neck that he's had on a bass kicking around forever.
Wow.
He went out and got proper double bass strings, measured everything up, and man, this thing sounds ridiculous.
That's awesome. I couldn't even that's something I really want to see now. You gotta get your friend to invite me over or something.
It's a real showstopper. It's actually for sale right now
really?
too. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
he's
probably have some novelty for a little while. It'll be like, okay.
You know what? And that's the joke we originally made when he was making it. It's like, what's the point? But when you actually start playing it, it sounds as good as any acoustic double bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess because it's got I'm just trying to. There's a lot of variables for a design in that, right? And
you've got the kick drum.
Yeah.
And then you've got the neck coming like this.
Where on the kick drum?
On
is
the top
neck?
of it.
But okay, so it's on the top. Is it in the middle on the top where the tongue
right
goes?
at the edge.
Right at the edge.
Yeah.
So the strings of the bass go over the skin.
Absolutely, and the bridge is attached
at the bottom. Wow.
No, the bridge is actually he's got
it's on the skin.
Yeah, gorilla glued onto the skin.
He glued it.
I think that's the only way he could have mounted it.
Crazy. Yeah. I mean, unless you get some sort of a not really playable skin that would. Well, I guess even just get like a piece of wood, like a wood skin.
Yeah, no, this is an actual kick drum skin. Yeah. And he's actually mounted a piezo pickup inside of it too.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's a good idea. I really want to get a pickup in this one too. My uncle made one of these just like it. He did a couple different things. He cut the top of this off right there, and he took off two of the pegs, like a whole level, and then
so a really short headstock.
But then glued the tip of it back on, right? Like he took this chunk apart and then just removed this section here, and then glued the top onto that, which I thought I might be able to get a little bit more better accuracy or whatever. Also, the string tension is lower this way for me to just hook them onto the far one.
Yeah.
That gives me a nice low string tension, which is nice with the high action. Surprisingly, you know.
You know what? It's really comfortable to play.
Yeah, totally, it is. I'm really surprised. There's a bit of higher action that I like. Some people like high action. That's fine. You get a better tone out of high action. But yeah, I think the low string tension really helps it, and also the small frets. Like the guitar size frets gotta contribute to not spending as much energy trying to traverse the neck, so now you can spend more energy just pushing individual notes, and that'll make it sound better.
I've got big meaty sausage fingers, and I like my P basses, but this is you know what? I really like this neck on it.
Yeah, it's like that guitar sat in that case back there for must have been 4 years or something. Somebody was throwing it out in an apartment building that I was working security in, and they were tossing it in the garbage, and I was like, I could probably do something with that, and there you go. But it just sat around forever because it's in such bad condition. But then now I was like, okay, I got a bridge lying around. I got 2 extra bass nuts lying around. I got a bag full of old bass strings lying around, and I got this guitar that's totally useless and junk.
Yeah.
So I got totally obsessed with it in one night, and I just sat down and I got all the stuff, and I just sat down and I was like, okay, I'm just start building it, and I didn't stop until it was finished. And then I made that video. I was so excited that I actually it was actually working.
You know what? Kudos to you. This is I love this thing.
Me too. I mean, my uncle has a soap bar pickup installed across the hole, and then with a cord in along the inside, and then there's an input jack, and he has it wired up to go into it's the bass part of a computer speaker system, like say with a couple of desktop computers and
Yeah.
then a little subwoofer at the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
It's basically just going into that, so it only carries like maybe the first harmonic, maybe the first two harmonics if you're lucky. So just like all that warm bottom.
It's all about that bass.
Yeah, yeah.
No treble.
It's exactly, and that's how this one is too. I haven't like been able to plug it in. I haven't tried miking it up or anything. I don't think that would do much to try and mic it up. But get an I might even just get a acoustic pickup. One of those bottle cap pickups that you just stick right on the outside.
Yeah.
Might get one of those too, but they tend to fall off a lot.
Yeah. Just have to Gorilla Glue it on.
Yeah, exactly.
If you never care about
the Gorilla Glue.
Yeah.
That's it. I kind of want to paint it too. I'm thinking about painting it all psychedelic.
Yeah.
Like my cab, if you've seen it.
No.
It's purple and with like a green.
Well, have you ever seen that paint they're doing now?
Thing on
You take like a big, almost like kiddie pool, and you put borax in it to destabilize the water.
Yeah.
And then you put like different paints and swirl
Yeah,
in so they don't
totally,
move, and then you
totally.
dip it down and swirl
Yeah,
it.
and then it comes up all swirled.
Yeah.
I was almost gonna do that, but instead I painted it purple, and then I like dripped a bunch of green on it, and like let the green drip down its own natural course, and I kind of turned the thing and like kind of coursed it to fall in certain directions, so it kind of looks like a tree to me, but it's also very abstract. It's been called bird poo. It's been called like chameleon skin. It's been called alien blood. Mostly,
So what
I
was
get
the
baby
finish on the
puke.
cab? Was it?
Just the grate of the cab.
Oh, just the grate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I actually have a picture. I could probably find one around here somewhere, but I don't want to like spend a bunch of time looking for that. So, no, I'm not gonna. It's got a bunch of
Fair
stuff
enough.
going there. Yeah.
I'm sure I've seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty noticeable. I got it on my Instagram.
I know I've seen you play, so I don't.
I did it recently.
Okay.
I guess I don't know how many shows I've done with it now. Dizzy Mystics has been gigging quite a bit in the last few months.
Yeah.
So I got a few under there. And then it, as well, the first APHELION show with it was our EP release just a few months ago. And that was the first time I played with APHELION since I painted it. Next time it's going to be Chadstock coming up. Super
Yeah, that's
stoked.
going to be a great show.
Yeah, and you're playing the day after that weekend too, eh?
Yeah, we're playing opening for Power Glove with Disillusion and Super FX.
Wow, that's a whole lot of stuff.
That is a lot of nerding all in one place.
Like right after Chadstock, and then Marvin's also coming here that weekend. We were talking about it. I'm kind of excited about that too. I'm gonna have to try and make the circuit that night.
The psychedelic jazz
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Like I don't
metal.
even know what you call Marvin. Like they're like world prog. I don't know.
World prog.
World prog is what you call
World
Marvin.
prog.
Marvin.
Free jazz.
Pre-jazz. Pre-post jazz.
Yes.
Isn't that just jazz?
Post jazz.
Yeah, post jazz. Well, there's already a whole bunch of post jazzes. I couldn't expound on them very well. There's bebop, which was like, kind of came after like big band and stuff, which was like the first big when jazz got like huge after like Louis Armstrong and everything and all the blues stuff. And then I think it was the big band where it got to number the most popular type of music for a while, and then there was like this big cultural thing of like all these musician crazy dudes on their clarinets who just can't stop like and they just like need to write and get it out there, so they came up with this bebop, which is 220 beats per minute, fucking just everybody solo, and then after that there was the counter to the bebop, which was like hard or smooth jazz, was basically a counter to the bebop, because bebop is just like off the fucking chain.
Yeah.
And then smooth jazz is like,
Smooth.
is smooth, it's the lounge music. And then there was hard bop, which was kind of the backlash of smooth jazz. Sort of like, okay, so there was big band, and then bebop was sort of like these guys wanted to get something more out of big band, and then the bebop was born, and then the smooth jazz was like the counterculture to the thing. I'm reiterating here, but then it's funny that the same thing that smooth jazz did to bebop happened to smooth jazz with hard bop.
Yeah.
You know, because they wanted to get it a little more energy now than always just chill elevator music. So they kind of went a little bit more energy in the smooth jazz without going too much more bop. Like, because bop was all about speed and like melodic minor scales where there's no avoid notes, so you can play any chord over any other chord and it sounds great. You know?
Well, I know, like, in high school, getting to play with, like, concert band and jazz band and stuff, you know, it's fun playing on stage, but there was something about, because I started playing drums in high school.
Yeah, right.
Being able
So
to
you're
play
a
in the
drummer
jazz band
first.
and all that stuff, yeah, but getting to play with, like, a full, like, jazz band behind you and the whole horn section and everybody else was... You know, it's fun to play some of those old, like, jazz songs and smooth jazz and lounge tunes.
Totally, I love it all.
Oh, yeah.
Jazz, I'm so into jazz right now. I mean, for APHELION, and, like, I have been for years, more so, like, the music now, I'm starting to get to a point where I've listened to a lot of jazz now. Not, like... I still haven't listened to, like, university teacher level or university, like, graduate level or anything like that amount as you probably should, but compared to when I was just studying jazz theory and then writing APHELION material with it, that was a lot of fun too, you know? But it was like, oh, let's write this big jazzy section, and then I would, like, try, and it's like, so obviously like a metal dude trying to write a jazz thing, you know? But yeah, now from listening to bands like Marbin, you know, it's a lot smoother and more fun. But we don't have any new material coming out, but we can.
Well,
we
you
all
just had a CD come out, so.
Well, I guess new to us. That's right. That is brand new material to everybody else. It's because the songs are so old for me and for us, so we always like just talk about it. Like, we kind of forget that it's new. I do.
Isn't that the same for everybody? You know,
I guess,
you end up playing a song live so many times, at least for your first or second couple albums, that you know, you end up playing the album start to finish anyway, so it's not new to you by the time you drop it, but everyone else has that physical in their hands. That
well, those songs have been around we've been playing those songs for about 9 years by the time that EP released recently, so, and we only have like all of the songs we got the 5 songs on our EP, and then we have 3 older songs, 2 of which we could probably still bust out. The third one we don't want to, and there's a reason we stopped playing it.
Fair enough.
But at the same time, we did actually just try and touch on it, like, just for fun, like, as a joke. Recently, we were like, hey, do you think we could do that? And we kind of, like, we're like, no, like, we forget almost all of that, but it was kind of fun to try and remember those riffs. There was a cool riff or 2 in those songs. And then we got 3 new songs, which are my favorites, and really cool. And I guess you got to catch us live for that experience.
Yeah, that's always the nice part. It's like you can see a band live, but it's really getting to go home, get in the right mindset and mood for it.
Yeah.
Throw on a really good set of headphones and actually really get to know the CD again.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like study it.
Yeah.
Like get every little accent of all the players and all your favorite whatchamacallits that are happening, you know. And Yeah. You really got to take that time with it, you know.
It's the romance of music that's maybe just not around anymore with, you know, being able to pick single songs at a time. But
I think there's still a lot of romance in music, and not necessarily in like a loving romantic way, but in like a not an intellectual way, but like a passionate way where you actually feel like the music, you know, makes you like want to fucking do something. I think the world at large is a lot less romantic than it used to be.
Yeah.
The music, I think, has gotten a lot deeper, but it's like you got to dig a lot deeper to find it.
Yeah.
Sort of, I think.
You got all the bubble gum on top and...
Mm-hmm. All the shitty pop. That's why the pop is on the radio and shit, because they don't want people digging deep and thinking about themselves and...
Yeah, I think those are the bands that always caught me the most. The ones that can take that radio pop sound and then make it whatever they want.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you ever got into like Swedish death metal or The Haunted.
I've heard some. I mean, I know people who are into it can just like list off like all of them, and I probably got like maybe 2.
But it was that whole theory of kids that grew up learning like, you know, music theory in school and growing up listening to ABBA and all the crazy Swedish pop music.
Oh yeah.
And then started writing metal riffs in the same progressions, just with a ton more gain on it and tuned way down.
Totally. I love doing that stuff. You can do that stuff with anything. I mean, for example, me and my drummer Jeff, from Dizzy Mystics there, we went to a jam at XQ's, which I guess they do there pretty often recently, which I'm just trying to go to the jams more.
Yeah.
To get out there, and I've been doing that a little bit, and it's been pretty successful and a lot of fun. Every time I go out and I actually get up and play, it goes great. Okay, I gotta preface. We were playing at XQ's with this dude, Glenn Williams. I got his card right here. Because he gave me the card the week before where we met him at this Sunday on Mountain in Arlington over there.
Oh, yeah.
A Sunday jam at that Polish place. We met him there. And, yeah, and I really loved his playing, and I was just like, I gotta play with you. He sings like a little angel canary, you know, and he does reggae. And I've been dying for like a reggae gig or for like a funk, not funk rock, talking like straight up funk band, like that, or either a Latin band, a funk band, or a reggae band. Been dying to have like those three for years, because that to me is just like such like the heart of like a bass player mentality, you know. It's like really, really tasteful and chilled back, but like just barely enough to say that you're not overdoing it, you know, because it's not really super simple reggae stuff, you know.
But it's 100% about the feel.
You can do a lot of licking, you can do a lot of melody and melodic playing and stuff, and like you can get a lot of great stuff and all that stuff, like the Latin stuff, even if you're just going dun, 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 but I was trying to clap the down and then play the syncopated one, whereas in the Latin bass where you're playing over the bar line, which I guess I didn't really do very accurately just there, but I was just doing the accents where I was singing them, but I can kind of play it a little bit sometimes. I probably couldn't be in an actual Latin band. If the opportunity arose, though, boy, would I spend a lot more time playing Latin music.
Yep.
Yeah, and those three. So, we went to XQ's, and I had to preface the main story with like 3 stories. Went to XQ's, and there wasn't a bass player there, or I didn't think there was, at least, and I brought my little red bass, and I ended up playing bass first, accompanying Glenn on his usual songs, like he was hosting. And yeah, I played for like an hour, and it was kind of the first time I had gotten up, really. I think it was the second time. I gotten up for like 1 song or 2 at the Sunday Jam too, a time or 2 before. But that was the first time I got up, and it was like an hour or just a bit over by the time I got down, and I was just like, whoa, I didn't know any song I just played, and it all went pretty fucking well. So that's kind of fun and weird, but I should start learning some actual songs, because some of them people are like, oh, you don't know that song? I'm like, no, got the chords. But yeah, so turns out there was actually a dude there who was going to play bass for Glenn, and he was playing keyboards this whole time.
Oh, wow.
He was not from Canada. I can't remember where he was from. He was... Because there was people there, there was actually a whole bunch of people there from different places. There was this one piano teacher who was from Jamaica. These other people here were from Trinidad, and they were like all visiting it. And this one girl who had like this gold powder on her face sang an Adele song, and it was really nice. Yeah, so I can't remember if this guy was from, I feel like he was from Jamaica, but he might have been like from Africa. Can't remember. But point being, he wasn't from here, and then he was leaving like 2 days after. And he played bass at the end of the night. He just picks it up for fun. Like after everybody was kind of done and chill, he'd been playing like keyboard all night, and he goes over to play the bass, and he's but jazzy.
Yeah.
He's not shredding. He's shredding, but it's like
jazz shredding,
and he's got this manipulation of the harmonic function, right? The tension, the resolution, like actually putting the diminished in the right place at the right time to make the other 2 chords before and after it sound fucking amazing, you know, and he just like knew that kind of stuff so well. So he offers me a bass lesson after I was like praising him, right? He's like, I'm leaving, but if you want to get together, I'll show you some stuff. I was like, fuck yeah, free bass lesson. Yeah, so we had a Dizzy Mystics practice the next day, and he came over afterwards, and we had a bass lesson in my drummer's basement where we had band practice, and he was showing me a lot of stuff like we were just going so fast, like it wasn't trying. He was just like, yeah, this is this, and you could do that and that, and I was actually kind of following him for the most part, but I wasn't getting a lot of the why. I was just getting a lot of the what.
Yeah,
you know, I was just getting like, oh, when you put this here, it sounds like that, and that's how you got that sound. Okay, but then it's like, I didn't really have enough time to really ask him everything about like why he puts that there.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like there is very specific reasons, because other chords sound fucking awful there.
Yeah.
Most other chords sound awful there. That's actually a small handful of like really dissonant chords you put in a really like rhythmically dissonant spot related to the other ones again. And he was just so good at it in his playing, and you could just hear him like all the reharmonization. So he starts busting out "Say My Name," you know, "Say my name, say my name," and he's doing all of these jazz reharmonizations to it, you know. And I was like, and he was just like, yeah, I used to just like play this song a lot with people, and he had played with so many musicians. It's a really cool picture.
That is a really cool picture.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, so "Say My Name." Can I see it for a sec?
Yeah.
If I'm not gonna be in the right key here, but I'm just taking the progression.
Yeah.
I think. So let's say it's an F sharp minor, okay? I think.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make some stuff up about keys and things at this point. You got this F sharp C, no F. What is he doing? C sharp, yeah. C sharp, whatever that one is. I don't know the actual chords yet either. I haven't spent a lot of time on this song, but basically the root notes, you got say my name, say my name. And then I landed on ukulele too, and that was fun. But so he's doing like a I don't know it. I can't even do it. I don't know. I was trying to do it, and I don't know. Like there's I don't know when to put which one, right? Because you got all these chords to choose from, and then you got all these places to put them.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you got to find the right one of both of those things.
Once again, though, once you figure that out, though, isn't that what makes you a millionaire? It's when you can figure that out and figure out what to put when, where. And it all falls into place.
Just in a larger scheme in life, yeah, I'm sure. When you figure out what to put what where, that's a tricky concept. But yeah.
Yeah.
As far as music goes, yeah, that's how you move people. That's how you create harmonic movement. That's literally coming back to what we were talking about before.
Exactly.
Yeah, you create that romantic element, right, in the music, and that's movement, right, and it actually, because it moves you, and it tells a story, right, and it actually has like a first part, a beginning, a middle, and an ending, right, and it tells like, oh, the beginning part is kind of just not too happy or sad, you know, and then the second part's really dark, and then the third part's like really noble and triumphant or something, you know, and you can actually create those like really specifically, even in instrumental music. But if you have words, I mean, all you gotta do is like write, oh, then the hero won and conquered the dragon,
right?
You know, and it's really easy to create that when you got words, but for instrumental music, like classical music and a lot of like Pliny is really expressive, and like intervals and animals as leaders. They're a little different than Pliny in the expression, right? Because animals as leaders is like inventing new ways to play guitar.
Yeah.
And drums, you know, like so they got a little bit of they have to have all of the technical prowess to know what to put what where, you know, but they're also just going like as hard as they fucking can.
And I was watching this interview with Tosin, and someone asked him, like, you know, you guys get praised for being like one of the most amazing bands in the world. How do you stay grounded? And he just says, I go on YouTube and I look at what 9-year-olds are doing, and they can play circles around me.
Oh, that's hilarious. I asked Tosin a question at his clinic here at Quest a few years ago, where he basically gave me that same answer. I was so excited to go to that thing, and I was like thinking about what question I was going to ask him. So I had this really like long-winded, complicated, deep question, and he was just kind of like, he was a little taken aback. He was kind of like, oh, nobody's asked me that before. I was like, well, good for good reason. 'Cause I'm a big old nerd about it.
Right.
What did I ask? I could probably remember like the exact phrasing if I tried to, but it was something like, what do you think is the ego, and like, what do you like? Yeah, it was about the ego and the effect that the ego has on a musician's career, right? And I basically asked him, like, what do you think about the ego, and what do you think's the effect that it has on the success or failure of a musician's career? Something like that, but it was even a little more convoluted.
Yeah.
And he basically said that. He was like, yeah, ego, I think, is typically pretty destructive, but, I mean, hey, some people, like, can build their career on being, like, arrogant or something, just never taking no for an answer, and I mean, like, that you have to have a little bit of that in you to be able to, like, you know, barter yourself a good gigging wage or something, you know. But,
now that's the difference, though. Is ego different from confidence?
well, I think here's a good distinction I like to make in my mind is, like, say, for example, you take pride for me, because ego is like a really big category, right? So I'm going to take one specific aspect of it, say, and this one, it sounds a lot like pride. So now I got to think about it.
No, what I'm getting more at, though,
The confidence. That's
yeah,
right, yeah.
But if you're an amazing guitar player and you know you're an amazing guitar player, it's different from somebody who, you know, knows they're an amazing guitar player, but they're a dick about it.
Exactly, like Yngwie Malmsteen.
Right.
I don't know the guy, but it's what he's known for.
Being a dick, yeah.
Yeah, see, this is the distinction for me, is I think that the pride, when you keep it inside and have it for yourself, is good. It's an ego trait, but it's also something that we evolutionarily used to survive as a species, and it was one of our best traits to help us survive, is we needed the pride to be able to, like, have pride in our things to defend it when we were living in caves and shit. It's just a leftover, like, DNA thing. I'm no doctor. It's just what
I don't know. I think you can be proud of something you did without being arrogant about it.
Well, exactly, and I think that's where it comes out, is when you start, like, projecting it, when you start putting it out onto other people, and when you have this big, like, competition thing, and when it's, oh, I'm so good and I'm better than everybody else.
It's the difference between Eddie Vedder and Axl Rose.
Yeah. Remind me on Eddie Vedder's exact position again.
Pearl Jam.
That's right. Okay.
But it's the difference of someone who's just an absolute legend and can command a stage.
Yeah.
But loves his own music, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the same point carries no negative attitude towards it.
Yeah.
Whereas you had people like Axl Rose.
Well, that's Axl Rose. See, I don't know, I wonder, you could probably do, like, a big whole in-depth, like, psychological analysis on all of the historical rock stars that went down that super egotistical fucking, like, pampered baby spoiled rock star thing, where it's like, oh, my fucking private jet wasn't fueled up today or something.
But, you know, he was,
you know,
like, he was on the same level of just himself as people like Prince and Bowie.
Yeah.
Where it's like...
Axl?
Yeah. Like, he had that level of ego to him.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I mean, how could you not, right? Like, I just can't help but try and understand. I mean, I see it like a lack of gratitude, you know? If that's the difference between Eddie Vedder and Axl Rose.
Maybe that's the difference, is like
gratitude, right? Because when you're not grateful, you're ungrateful, and now you're complaining. You're looking for everything that's not meeting your expectation. And expectation technically begets anger and disappointment, right? Disappointment is based on having an expectation in the first place. I mean, don't get rid of all your expectations, because maybe it's good to have some, but I mean, when you get angry, where's the expectation coming from?
It was bands like Pearl Jam that, you know, they go out, they're legitimately having a fun time with the crowd, and then the crowd's having a better time for it. Then you got bands like, you got people like Axl Rose, where it's a privilege to be seeing me right now.
Yeah.
Bow down before me.
Yeah, see, but it's the opposite, the other way.
But there's that same level of competence there. It's just whether you understand who needs who in the real relationship of music and the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as much of it as it is actually a privilege for those people to be there and see him. It's also arguably more of a privilege for him to be in that situation.
100%.
Exactly. Like, I think that's an easy thing to make. Yeah.
I mean, never saying musician's life when you're at that level of stardom is easy with all the touring and never being around. And
no, I'm sure it's got lots and lots of stresses. I mean, you're a public figure and all this.
But to be able to live that life and to be able to be set up like that at this point in your life and being able to do what you love.
Yeah.
When you had these couple of kids from Seattle that wound up touring the world many times over.
That's the dream. I mean, I'm a pretty firm believer that the era of the rock star is over. Has been for, you can thank like the Napster and the downloading music and all that for it. The era of like that level of rock star, but there's a really strong era of like high level musicianship. There's a really strong level of like passion and sacrifice in the music now, because like people don't want to see this awesome thing die that nobody higher up is like putting any real money into anymore, you know. And
I mean, you had bands like Five Finger Death Punch getting pretty big with you know, huge sponsors, huge backing, huge tours, and to their credit, a huge fan base.
Yeah, but nothing compared to Guns N' Roses or Prince or some, but like the rock stars of history, you know, like Five Finger Death Punch, anything with death in the name and punch.
Yeah, you're going to attract a certain crowd.
Yeah, and that crowd's going to be a little bit limited. It's never going to be pop. Like rock was the pop music for a few decades.
Yeah, but you know, at a certain point, I mean, they may be like the biggest out of the new round, I guess.
Yeah, there is a lot of action still. I mean, like Ninja Spy's getting a lot of attention, getting pretty big in Canada. Protest the Heroes at the point where they're just helping out other startup bands now and stuff. You know?
But when you've got bands like Mastodon saying that they can't support themselves touring anymore. But a band...
they got a real crazy... Five Finger Death Punch is a little more poppy than Mastodon, but...
Yeah...
He has a lot more clean singing than Mastodon, do they not?
I don't know, the new Mastodon...
I don't listen to either one of them a lot, to be honest.
Yeah.
The newer Mastodon doesn't have as much heavy singing yet.
No, I mean, I love Mastodon. Yeah. I'm super excited to see them coming up with Dinosaur Jr. That show is going to be...
That's coming out soon?
Yeah. Cool. That show is coming in the beginning of September.
That's a tour?
Yeah.
Killer.
Mastodon.
Do you think they'll be going through Ninja Cat, or is that's like the only demographic of bands that doesn't necessarily go through Corey there?
Yeah.
Is like anybody going to the MTS Center?
Well, no, they're doing it at the Burt, so I don't know if Corey's got a hand. You see, he's the new talent buyer for the park.
Too. That's really great. Yeah. I've been meaning to have Corey on the podcast for a long time too. Hasn't lined up yet, but
I don't know if you can talk about music in Winnipeg without Corey.
Oh no, I mean, of course not. I think he's come up in every video we've done so far. My next show with Dizzy Mystics is our first Ninja Cat Productions show.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, with King Buffalo and Tusk at the Handsome Daughter, so that's pretty fun.
That's going to be a
meaning
show.
to get on that working with Corey thing.
At the Handsome Daughter, nonetheless.
Yeah, our first Handsome Daughter show, our first Ninja Cat show. I think maybe our third opening for a touring act, third or fourth. King Buffalo sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't heard like a lot of them, but from what I did check out, it sounded pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm going to be going out for sure.
Yeah, excellent. That's September 8th. Yeah. Pretty neat poster for it as well. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not. Is that one a little more handy?
Yeah, I can probably find that one quite fast. Here we go. See, things are sometimes a little bit user-friendly.
So how long have you been playing bass for now?
I was just thinking about that. 14 years?
Yeah? What got you into it?
13 years. Well, I was just all the conditions were in the right place for me to start playing when I did, and then I just made the decision. I was like, I'm just gonna learn it, and then I have lots of family, relatives that are musicians, and lots of friends that are musicians, and I always liked instruments, and I would go fool around at my uncle's place and stuff. But then, basically, there was a couple more significant things in grade 9. I'm close here. I started high school in grade 9, and they had this show at Tech Voc called... So last year they did Rocktoberfest,
Yeah.
which was like a show they did there with... they had this one TA, Greg, who was pretty awesome, who was a musician as well, and he had a lot of good stage presence. So... I was just like, whoa, this guy's really awesome to watch. He's singing Crazy Train and stuff, you know, and Guns N' Roses. And yeah, so... And then they had another one at the end of the year called Tech Stock, which I think they still do. And then I remember distinctly in grade 9, like, filling out the sheet for which classes I was going to take in grade 10. And I had, like, one more elective to pick or something, and I think it was between guitar and, like, cooking or something. And I had just seen the show, the Tech Stocks, and I was like, I want to play that next year, you know? And I was like, fucking guitar. And then I went to the guitar class the next year, and I had two friends who I had met in grade 9 who were a drummer and a guitar player, and they had a few like Blink-182 and Green Day covers down. And it was just a drummer and a guitar player, and they were like, we need a bass player. I was like, I'll play bass. So I just started playing bass right away, and then those two would take me every day at lunch into the practice rooms in the back and force feed me 2-on-1 guitar lessons for Green Day songs.
Right on.
Yeah, so I was super lucky. I just got force-fed guitar lessons every day for like an hour at least for a year, right from the day I started playing. You know, and I was lucky enough to actually be into it and to like want to do it that hard, instead of somebody like trying to force me to do it, or just trying to like live up to my teacher who's at this other crazy level. You know, it's like, no, these guys weren't that much better than me, but they knew the basics and they were showing me, and then I could practice, you know. This is taking forever. I have this picture up here. I don't know why it's not coming up. It should work. Weird. Okay, I'll try one other thing, but if you go to the event on the phone, you can probably... yeah. Oh yeah, this is why I need Jamie. You ever watch the Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I need Jamie.
You need someone doing this for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I'm like, I have to take time to talk about it. There's the poster.
Yes.
I think that's the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Is it? No. Oh, that's just our profile picture. That makes sense.
It's still a cool poster.
Yeah. Well, here's the event. Hey, we get to go on the computer and do something that's not go on Facebook, and then you find a video. Like, hey, I'm gonna watch this video, and in the video they're on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just defeat the whole purpose.
And then can we record that and play that back while we watch ourselves watching ourselves on Facebook?
Only if we can watch it on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But can we record that too?
We have to make a live video of it, yeah. Make a live video of us on Facebook watching a video of ourselves watching another video of people on Facebook.
Yes.
How
deep does the rabbit hole go?
Oh, well, we can probably find at least a couple more layers, I'm sure, if we tried.
But yeah, that's cool.
I like it. Yeah, so you're newly in Inhumed, yeah, hey? We were talking about that, hey? Have you had much experience playing with metal bands before that?
Well, I was a drummer all through high school, and then when I moved out, when I was 18, I couldn't exactly have my drums kicking around anymore.
Yeah, of course.
So I ended up doing everything I can, scrambled, got a house, was renting a house, and then that fell through. So I was like, you know what, this isn't going to be around for a while. So I traded my kit in on a bass amp, and I'd kind of been half fooling around with it, kind of had it half in the corner, and then my buddies were like, in Split Lip Grin, were like, hey, we need a bass player, and I'm like, well, I own a bass.
Yeah, right? Yeah, there you go.
And then through somehow the patience of Sid Bellinger, he pretty much taught me how to go from zero and in 5 weeks playing a show. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's great. That's great. I definitely had a year before my first show, so
Yeah, no, I had a good 5, 6 weeks. Like I could play like Misfit covers and
yeah,
Ramones, and
yeah.
but this
I
was
remember
actually
first
jumping
jamming.
into some I don't know half Swedish, half tech death, and so it was I was in there for a couple of years, and then kind of found my way into the punk scene for a while, and
Yeah,
then now I really wanted to play in a metal band again, and Mike
yeah. It's pretty
Mason
fun.
was looking for a bass player, and I love Mike Mason,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Well, who doesn't?
we dude gives like the best hugs ever.
Yeah, he's a
Sorry,
big
Mike
old teddy
Menza,
bear.
but the other Mike's a little bit better.
I just need to see them hugging each other.
You know
It's
what?
really the
Watching
thing.
Mike Mason and Mike Menza, you need to hug it out on Facebook so we can watch it.
Yeah, just live, like a 10-minute hug.
Yeah,
you guys.
just a complete hug out.
minimum 10 minutes.
But yeah, and so they had some shows coming up, including their CD release, and Matt Simpson did an incredible job recording bass on their album. And
Yeah.
then I was lucky enough to get to play the CD release, and that Votov, Exuvium, and Perlocution together was one of the craziest bills I've been on. So
Yeah, that sounds great. I was pretty sad to miss that show. Yeah, I'm glad it went well though. That was pretty awesome.
it's another one is Chuck Labossiere. You can't really
Chuck's
talk.
just
It's
a hero.
yeah, you can't talk about metal in Winnipeg without
No.
Chuck and Corey.
He's the godfather for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think anybody has been doing it longer than Chuck.
no, I remember a couple years ago he shares a memory of a picture of himself playing at the zoo. Yeah, October 13th, 1990. It's my birthday. That was the day I was born. It was him playing a show at the zoo. And I was like, that is a good omen that was happening in the city. That's probably why. It was whatever band Chuck was in at the time. Sound waves reached the hospital when I was a kid, and I was like,
What would that have been? Serrated scalpel or psychotic?
oh, geez, I don't even know.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Is Chuck in Serrated Scalpel?
Was-
He could be, I don't know. I thought Psychotic Gardening was his original thing.
Yeah, I mean, but how many bands has Chuck been in?
I'm sure tons. Yeah, there's EM as well,
Yeah,
of course. Yeah, I don't know how long EM's been around. A few years.
a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've had a few different lineups. They're great. I love watching Chuck like cast his black magic in EM. That's what
With
we-
that
that's what I
with
always
that
say.
crazy giant stick for a
Yeah,
microphone.
with his stick in his like 10 finger joints.
They-
It's been a while since I saw Chuck play.
you know what? It's always a treat when you do.
Yeah, totally. Votov had this one song when I was seeing them at the Park Theater a while back, and it was, I can't remember what it was, but the message was real hilarious and satanic. It was like this pre-recorded thing of like a little girl. I can't remember what it was, but maybe she was like asking. She was either like asking somebody or just saying it, and she's saying like, no, like all of the good things that you love, you know, they don't come from this. They don't come from like all like the Santa Claus and the gods and the angels that you think they come from. They come from, and then like the red lights come on. It's just Satan, and this big bassy voice, and then the brrr just comes in with the brutal sound of wall, and I'm just like, ah. It's just so over the top and amazing and awesome.
And they're such amazing people too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super excited to get to play with Derek there. He is
Yeah.
one of my favorite drummers to watch in
Yeah.
Winnipeg.
Yeah, Derek's a real charm.
And John Duke is just
Yeah.
John Duke is just
Duke's
a
just
wonderful
little-
human being.
So he just looks like a little bulldog on stage with his bass, just smacking it.
ripping it up and
Yeah,
shredding it.
Yeah.
You know what, the new with the new Votov lineup, they're hands down one of my favorite bands to play with.
Is Derek playing drums in them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I did know that. I wasn't sure if it was the other, because he was in EM. Is he in EM
Yeah.
now? He is.
Yeah.
He was in EM.
Yeah. Yes.
I should know this. He was my last guest, but I think he might not be in EM anymore.
I don't think anyone's in EM anymore, are they? I don't know if I think they're.
I thought they were still like working on stuff in the basement.
I mean, Mikey's always going to be working on Mikey.
Oh yeah, that could be a thing too. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
actually know much about that, but now that you mention it, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited to get moving with APHELION again. It's been a little while. I had to sort of take a little time away from it when Dizzy Mystics came up, but now we're definitely getting. And it was a good time because we were in the studio, so it was a good time for it. So now it's pretty fun getting to play some heavy stuff again. Like Dizzy Mystics can get kind of hard at some points, but like that's the most I'll give it. They can get kind of hard at some points. You know.
And you know what? If that's not what you're going for, then there's nothing wrong with it.
Oh yeah, no, it's of course not. I mean, when I joined them, I wanted something that was sort of from like a different scene a little
Yeah.
bit, you know, and then I wanted something that was from a new group of people, like that people that I didn't know, and then it just had to be like entertaining and proggy, and it also had to be like people who were shooting for the stars, you know, not a hobby band, not people
Right,
who like
yeah.
complain about having to work too much. Every single one in Dizzy Mystics right off the hop was like, I'm down to make sacrifices and do however much work is required to make this shit fucking take right off.
Exactly.
You know, and we
that's
do
the
that.
attitude you need to have.
We
going
have
in.
like business meetings like every single band practice, almost like before and after. Like okay, what do we got to do? We got merch, we got the recordings, we got the grants, we got planning, we got PR agencies to contact, we got email shit to do, we got lots of shit to do, you know. And it's like you almost need a whole person just to delegate that, and never mind. And that's hard enough when everybody's like on board and trying to do that.
Exactly.
Never mind when like one person's trying to take control, or somebody else like doesn't want to do it or thinks it's unnecessary or whatever, you know. It's like that's fine if that's what you're going for too, but I was at a point where I had just made a decision that I wanted to be a professional musician. Like I didn't want to have a day job, and I don't right now. I own a music business, you know. So yeah, I had to get to that place with other people of like, yeah, this is gonna be my main thing, you know. This is what we're counting on, like, yeah. And I mean, we're all realizing it. We're not there yet. It's a day. It's out there, but you have to sort of pretend that you already are what you're aiming for.
Exactly.
You know, and then it just sort of the world like modulates itself around that.
That's back to the self-confidence, though.
Totally. Yeah. It's great, and that's because I find there a lot of struggles that I've seen people have in my life that, to me, like analytically, just seem like some people don't have the tools, and that's of course, obviously, because a lot of people don't realize you have to like go out of your way and get it right. But I think it has a lot to do with insecurity, right? Confidence and insecurity are kind of the other side of that, and when like insecurity is pretty, you gotta be like empathetic and sympathetic a little bit, sort of sometimes, but also like hard on those people, sort of, right? Because if you keep It's weird. It's a fine line, and you gotta be situational about, because the insecurity, like, it can happen from real trauma. Obviously, it can happen from somebody just being a baby about something they were
Of
just
course,
didn't want,
yeah.
and it can be, so you gotta be very delicate, obviously, and in most cases, it's none of my business. So, but you know, like sometimes when somebody's getting in my beef and they like think that I got a problem or that they're having a problem with me or something, a lot of the time because my training tells me not to project it, says like to look at my own reactions and to go inside and actually like kind of analyze them, and more than just intellectually analyze them, but to romantically live them, to live the emotions and the experience in your actual life, you know. But that process is the process that allows it to not control you,
Right.
or your reaction to not consume you and you lose control, right? Is by going in, you know, facing it and all that shit. And people don't do that because it hurts, and that's because they're insecure, you know. And again, it makes sense. Like being insecure is a total one of our survival reflexes. Is like, oh, that hurts. Get it the fuck away from me.
Oh,
you know?
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking normal.
It's learning to be able to take criticism and turn it into the, you know, instead of taking offense to it, is being able to turn it into a learning experience, and then that turns it into a positive.
Yeah.
If you can come out of something, you know, like I don't pretend to be an amazing bass player. I don't pretend to know everything that's going on, but you know, any chance I can to learn from somebody.
Pretend that. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think I do sometimes pretend that. I had to say. Yeah.
But yeah, it's any time you can learn from somebody else, because there's always going to be someone better than you, and when you can find them and learn from it, that's growth.
I so wish that I could just have always been enrolled in lessons. Tried to go to university a few years back, didn't work out. Probably could have made it work out, but I wasn't very smart or prudent or lots of things that I'm still not. But yeah, I mean, ultimately that solution, I think, is you know, or maybe not a solution. I can't really speak to much of a solution, but just I see a lot of insecurity in myself and in others, you know, and my philosophy says that my acknowledging my own security is what allows me to be aware of it in the world, and which I am in a part of, and so is everybody else. So you see it in them too, right? And it's I don't know. It gets confusing and convoluted, and so much of that stuff is based on feelings, you know.
Yeah.
And it gets kind of tricky to talk about sometimes. And then that's also like that literally is why people don't do it, because it's like it's hard to talk. It's more than it's hard to talk about. Oh, like it hurts my feelings, but it's like, oh, it's hard to talk about, and the wiring in my brain like literally like won't actually go there sometimes, and you have to actually like focus and go like, okay, no, I gotta like go into this like thing that I don't want to look at, you know. And
people are scared of anything that's different from what they're used to.
Yeah. Scared of change.
Scared of change, but also, you know, any new challenge can be daunting, especially when you're taking on something. It's you almost have to learn how to learn and adapt, and then be able to, you know, not see it as, you know, trying to climb Everest, but taking it, you know, one camp at a time till you get to the top, and this is what I have to get done today, and if I get that done, that's good enough. And then it's not a one-day process. You're being able to sit down.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. The patience that it takes. People get so frustrated with themselves that so here's a typical process too, right? Somebody who now realizes they're insecure, right? And it's causing them a lot of shit, so they're trying to better it now. So now they've created this image of what they think they should be like, right? That is not who they are now, but this is a goal that I'm gonna work towards, which actually is a very good thing. It's not a bad thing at all. You know, there's a lot of people that do like, oh, just accept yourself for now. And I think that's good too, to like get over the pain. But once you're like the pain and insecurity, that's a great way to get over insecurity, is to accept yourself as you are now.
Right.
Instead of hating yourself, right? But there's like people like Jordan Peterson talk about like you shouldn't accept yourself as you are now. You should try and better yourself, because you can be a lot better than you are right now.
Of course.
Right? So and I think I agree with both of those things.
Yeah.
And so like it's good to have that, and then you should also like not despise yourself right now, you know?
I think that's always the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, at the same point, I find a lot of people are so hard on themselves that it's like...
well, because we're not living up to that image. That's the point that I forgot, was that we create that image of ourselves, and then that's where the disappointment breeds even more anger, more insecurity, is that we have now this image that we know where we're supposed to be at, and we're not, because we're impatient, you know, and we're not there yet. So we're like, oh, I should be, and blah, blah, blah. I'm so angry that I'm not like a Buddha already.
I remember when I started playing bass, like one of my favorite bands is Rush.
Oh, yeah.
And then you start trying to learn 2112. And it's like, okay.
I'm actually not as familiar with that one. I know YYZ, but...
At a certain point, you're like, okay. You know, there's steps in between, you know, a Honda Civic to a Ferrari.
Yeah,
there's a couple cars you should probably drive in the middle before you get up.
Yeah.
That's not saying there's not people that just jump right into it and are naturals, but like I never had a lot of musical talent in the family, so it's like I had to work that much harder to get.
It's interesting because I did, but none like neither my brother nor any of my parents are musical, like in the least bit. right? But I have like plenty of musical aunties and uncles and
Yeah.
cousins and friends and stuff. It's interesting. That same experience for me with the 2112 thing is kind of Tommy the Cat, which I never completed. Like, did you ever end up learning and being able to play 2112?
No.
No?
Not yet.
Okay, well, we're at the same point with this
Yeah.
thing, because that was Tommy the Cat. And when I first started learning slap bass, and I was like, oh, it's like the craziest slap bass song I can try and learn. You know, I had just done, like, I don't even remember what was the first, like, I'm so sure it was a Chili Peppers song, because I was really into Chili Peppers for a long time. The first one, but no, this one was Tommy the Cat by Primus, and I looked it up, and I was like, nope, no, like, I'm not even gonna, I didn't, like, it was a tab, and I just listened to the song, I didn't understand anything that was happening. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I've been playing for, like, maybe a year or two. Put it down, practiced some slap out, came back to it maybe a year or two later, tried it, I understood the tab now a little bit better, but I couldn't play it at all. And then, I think I might have gone back to it one more time, but I think I actually haven't. I think it was just those 2 times. And that was probably 10 years ago. So I feel like I could do it now. But,
Yeah, I've been meaning to once life calms down a bit, sit back down and dedicate some serious time to trying to get through my big book of Rush.
oh yeah, that's always a good one. I got so many Guitar Pro tabs I gotta be practicing.
You know, it's nice though. It's
this.
sometimes when you jump in with a new band, you get to learn from a bunch of new people. Like getting to learn from Ian Garraway right now has been an absolute privilege. That guy can play guitar.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. There's times when literally he sent me tabs and I'm trying to he literally just put out what he's playing there and you're looking at the tab, these runs and lines at first, and then you learn everybody's, or you start to learn everybody's kind of patterns along the way, and it makes life a little bit easier. But it's like off the hop, that guy can play guitar.
Yeah, I don't think we've met actually. I know these names on Facebook. Like Sid, I don't think I might have seen him around. I'm also super bad with names, and it makes it even worse when I know you on Facebook and then I've seen you in person, but I don't know that it's the same one.
Right.
It makes it even worse. You know, so sometimes I get confused.
Yeah, well, I mean, Ian, his brother Blair, and Mike Mason were in Leica together for before, and then this one morphed into the other, and so watching them and having brothers playing guitar and drums together too, you look over at them and they'll be giving this look.
Yeah.
And they'll be looking at each other and, hey, I need you to do this. And Blair will be like, are you talking about this? And no, Ian's like, no, I need this. And Blair's like, oh, so this.
Yeah,
and Ian, yes, okay.
me and Clay do that a lot. And yeah, both of the guys in my bands do that a lot. I love listening to like guitar player conversations where like all the nouns and verbs are done with the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, oh, you know this crazy, and they're like, oh no, was that the other, or was it the, you know, and it just keeps going. And I love like, actually like from outside of that, observing a functional conversation, like functional, right? And they're actually like communicating real information and like making progress on what they're talking about.
Well, absolutely.
You know? Like, it's pretty fun. Pretty fun. Music's definitely a universal language because you can do that with a Chinese person.
Yeah.
Chinese isn't a language, but
music is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I think that's the cool part about music too, is even if you can't speak another language, their music says it all.
Yeah.
And that's when you were getting back into a lot of that world stuff.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta download the Putumayo collection. Okay, I'm gonna list you off of. Actually, I might even have some on my computer.
The who what?
It's called the Putumayo collection. Puta is like, you know, it's to me I was like the Portuguese word for bitch. What?
Yeah.
Something I don't know. And then Mayo. It's like this world music collection, and then there's basically all of like Latin America.
Okay.
And then there's Asia.
Yeah.
And all of the different subcategories of those two things.
Okay.
And then. So they have them listed from their place in the world, and then their genre, and then their mood within that genre, right? So they got like African samba, and then African Samba Lounge, and then African Samba Blues, and then I don't think Samba would be right
So
there.
you've got like tech, grindcore.
But it's all Latin music.
That's what I mean. It's all metal.
It's all jazz.
Same
Yeah.
thing with-
Well, yeah, exactly. With the subgenre thing. Yeah, totally. Exactly.
You can have like a million different combinations of.
Except these guys came up with their own
Right.
labels for it, their own branded system, essentially.
Yeah.
Come on.
Because everybody needs to define something somehow. Nothing can ever just be. People can't be.
Well, you ever heard the word Tathagata?
No.
That is a title that the Buddha had, and it means the thus come one, which is not easily understood, right? But it means the one who is always arriving.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Right? So we're not there. Otherwise we'd all be Buddhas.
Right?
And we're not, so that's all right.
Yeah.
See, that's exactly the thing we were just talking about. We see where we should be, and then we get angry at ourselves for not being there yet.
Instead of putting in the work to get there.
Exactly. And like forgiving ourselves where we can't do.
Right?
You know, and letting that shit go.
I think that's the hardest thing you can do is forgive yourself for something.
Oh, it's crazy. There's this really good project called 40 Years of Zen. And they studied monks, like Tibetan monks who had been meditating in the caves in the mountains, living up there for 40 years. And they had the electrodes on their brain, and they scanned their like brain waves and forms, and then they did all these experiments to figure out what you have to do to get to that state of being that this monk who's been meditating in the temple for 40 years has to do. And it was forgiveness. It was like radical forgiveness. And he says, like, if you like go back through your life, remember every little slight that you ever had in your life, every fucking little bully kid in school that called you an asshole, and actively go and like in your imagination go like, I forgive you, and in your heart like actually release that like emotional muscle that's gripping that pain that's still alive in you from when he called you an asshole back then, you know, and you start going through that shit. Pick 5 little pick 3 little things a day and 1 like medium-sized thing, and do it first thing in the morning. Take you 20 minutes. You know, I could probably just go on and on and on and on and on and on and on with in my mind with a list of memories of little shit that I was slighted against.
Absolutely.
Of course, right? And it's not real slights. It's just are perceived or real or not, whatever, you know. But yeah, so there's this really good speech. I'll send it to you after. Maybe I'll put the link in the description too.
Yeah.
They had these 3 speakers. The first guy was talking about this radical forgiveness. I can't remember what there's this. I can't remember what the order. I think the second lady was also another impressive one, and they called her like the terrorist therapist, because she could take like 20-year patients of like world-renowned therapists who couldn't fix these people, and then like fix them in like a couple months. You know, and she's just like stealing all the therapist's work, I guess, or something. But her whole basic thing was she writes, you are enough, like all over your place. And you have to like write it in big, huge fucking bold letters. And she's doing this branded lipstick thing because she has a story about getting hired by an actor who, like, she shows up at his house and he's divorcing his 4th wife, and he's telling her all how shitty his 5 Lamborghinis are and how terrible his life is, and he's drunk all the time, and he has a terrible relationship with his mother and his brother and his family and all that. And she just goes like, oh, I know, it's your problem, you just don't think you're enough. And he's just like, what, like that? So she takes her lipstick and writes it like all over the walls and all over the mirrors and like all over his car and his fucking wallet and like everywhere, and just fucking pound it in your head like you are enough that way. And then now he's happily married and has repaired all his relationships, and he like downsized all his cars and shit, and he's really happy and stuff. She tells the story much better. So yeah, that forgiveness thing really is hard to do, because the results are like really spectacular. Most people don't ever get to that point of seeing that result in their life. And getting back to what we were talking about even earlier, I think about the society and stuff and how we're all kind of dumb. You know, that's why people keep us like the. We didn't say that earlier, but that's kind of what I was implying a little bit. Yeah, you know. It's where the man keeps you down, if I can make an analogy.
Where does the ego keep you down?
Oh, where you fail to see it and act upon training it. Lots of places, ego keeps down all over the place.
Yeah.
My system is called I have a thing called the 22 masks of the ego. That's how I define it. It's got 7 branches, and There's denials, emotions, attachments, tools, roles, and needs and expectations. And then there's 3 of each of those. So 3 denials, fear, shame, and pride. I won't go through them all because I don't know if I can just do that quickly. There's fear, shame, and pride are the 3 denials, and that's typically like the first thing, surface reaction, right? So am I proud of it? Too proud, oh, it doesn't affect me, so I'm unaffected. Denial, you're affected.
Yeah.
Shame is, oh, I'm too ashamed to acknowledge that I did that, and I just can't bear to accept the truth. So I'm pretending like I don't because I can't bear it. Fear is like, oh, I'm just pretending that thing's not here. Get that away from me. I'm just look. They're all denials, like by their nature, right? And then so a denial covers up your emotion, which is what's actually going on, how you feel underneath, and those are abandonment, rejection, guilt, right? And they're just families. And this is just one system. There's thousands and thousands of systems. This is the one I learned. This one I follow, and it's one I like, because it's kind of made to be a template for systems to fit in.
So where did you get this from? Where did you?
I'm in an amateur garage club of philosophy, Buddhists and Hindus and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's called the Mahajriya. We're a traditional, not traditional Buddhist organization, but it's just.
Is there a book you're pulling this from?
Yeah, there's lots of that one. There's lots of documents. It was kind of created by my teacher, and it was sort of amalgamated from lots of different things over history, like the Vedic saints and stuff. The Vedas are like huge Hindu texts, and then there's lots of Buddhist texts, and there's lots of like Christian texts, and the Kabbalah is a lot like that with the Tree of Life. I have a charm of the Tree of Life on on my base in here. So it's all kind of amalgamated to that, and it's all just a system to help make sense of anything. They're all flawed. I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect system. I think Kabbalah is pretty damn fucking close as it comes if you do it right, but it's not about like what's written on the paper. It's about the experience that you have, and whether a system is bullshit or not doesn't really matter to a person who's had like a profound emotional transformative experience, and like who actually felt like all the pain that their body was filled with leave them, like you can't take that away from somebody, and
no,
and that's so wonderful, and that's why I love all that stuff, and there's like my teacher teaches how to identify cults and bad teachers like any other teacher does, and everything I can possibly say is going to be wildly out of context, but it's fun. I like it's a hard style, right? It's not a soft style.
So what got you into all this?
I wanted to be a ninja, so I learned Kuji-in because this guy teaches Kuji-in, which is an ancient esoteric ritual meditation empowerment system. Kuji-in means the 9 hand seals, right? So you have these, and they all come with philosophical contemplations and visualizations and things that you apply to your life, and it's really extremely comprehensive, and it's a system of virtues basically, to bring you a lot closer to being that Tathagata state, because that's just a state of being,
right?
Is one who's constantly arriving. It's very tricky. It's something you have to meditate on. It's not meant to be understood with the mind, until you get the experience of it, and then you can kind of give intonations of it, but it's really something that you have to experience, because that's what its nature is to be experiencing now, right? So it's not that you're experiencing something, but it's just
you're fully embracing the experience.
Yeah, but there may not be an experience necessarily. It's just the fact that you're
embracing the now.
Yeah.
This very moment you're in, what's ever happening.
It's more than just embracing the now. To be a Tathagata is a very, very deep, profound thing, that I couldn't hope to know if I've ever touched that state or not. I've tried. I don't know if that stuff works, but well, things happen, certainly. It's
Was there
yeah.
What got you on the great spiritual quest, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I'm more talking just about like my current methods that I use, but when I was a kid, probably my brother, and I guess like In the for the hardcore spiritualists at this point would start talking about reincarnation, but we can leave that one. No, yeah, my brother had a bit of I don't know what to call it. For me, it was I just saw it as like we were practicing qigong. We just kind of watched a lot of Dragon Ball Z type of stuff, and so we would play with energy a lot when I was a kid. My older brother was like a lot more into it, and he had like a whole group of friends that were doing it. And then I went into cadets, and I had friends who were like pagans and Wiccans, and had little crystal balls and would do like spells and stuff. And when I was like 14, I was like learning to do tarot and stuff.
So it's always kind of been around.
Yeah, it's just been pretty integral part of my life, and it went away a little bit. It didn't go away, but it went on the back burner when I started playing bass. I was like super hardcore into it and like a major fucking weirdo. Like not into the spiritual. I didn't know anything about like real spirituality at that point. I was just like starting to be able to feel energy and to learn some things that other people had written down, not on any experience of my own. So I was a little weirdo. And then I started playing bass, and that kind of took away some of the like I had my nails sharpened to a point because I had been a goth for so many years. I think I was a goth at that point I was also a goth at that whole point. Like from when I was like 11 to 14, I was definitely
that would have been what,
yeah.
early to...
I was born in 1990, so it's easy to keep track. From 2011 or 2001, I was 11, so maybe 2001 to 2014. Yeah, it was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, I remember that whole scene. I remember there was this one night we were playing out at the Collective, or I was at the Collective, and Igor and the Skin Diggers and I were standing outside the Collective, and it was the D Machine upstairs. And so there was a bunch of metalheads and leather jackets and, war vests, and then a bunch of vampires standing next to us with white face paint and crushed velvet.
People who are there like, I'm actually a vampire in real life, this isn't a costume.
And I remember we were all fairly intoxicated and giving each other that look, like, all right, this is the thing that happens.
Yeah, it still happens too. I think it's just.
I remember because there was this like burgundy red crushed velvet suit with that very
crushed velvet.
Because
I'm not exact. I know velvet, but I'm just thinking of like super wrinkly velvet. Is that basically?
No, think like Austin Powers. His crushed velvet suit.
Okay.
So think of that, but this burgundy with that white frilly pirate shirt underneath, and the monocles and canes with glass balls on the end.
It's just a nice fabric.
Yeah.
Good for couches.
Fantastic for couches. Odd for suits.
In the 60s, it was good.
Yeah, but Osborne in the 90s, I mean...
Yeah, no, I used to... In the 90s, Osborne for me was Freakdown because we would occasionally drive by in the family, and my dad would be like, "Oh, kids, we're in Freaktown now. Start looking for the freaks." I don't even know, piercings, tattoos, mohawks, all that. Now I'm like, this is my family, but.
And like I said, there was nothing wrong with that, and I think that was the fun part about Osborne is when you had the Zoo, the Collective, D Machine. And then even to a certain extent, depending on how much you wanted to hoof it, the Albert, the Windsor were all still technically within walking distance.
Yeah.
And I remember many nights.
I never went to the Albert.
No?
No, I think it was just before my day.
Yeah, I remember seeing some crazy nights at the Albert back when, you'd have bars and bands were playing, and it was literally packed to the door as people lining up outside to still support the scene.
Yeah, I think my drummer Dan had a lot of his formative metal experiences there at like Propaganda and Ken Mode and stuff.
Yeah. Seeing Propaganda at the Royal Albert was insane. But I remember this one show that always stuck with me was Into Eternity was playing, and it was when Stu was still in the band. And Stu had bronchitis, the drummer had pneumonia, and I'm pretty sure that Tim Roth was sick as well. And they ended up playing 3 or 4 encores, and they were on stage for almost 2 hours. Like, he came back.
How do you do 3 or 4 encores?
Well, I mean, they came back for a song or two, and then they came back again. And yeah, it was because people were calling for them back.
They're still cheering, I guess.
And
they want
Stu
more.
was still screaming his lungs out with,
Wow.
and they're all full on dying with buckets behind them, and or anytime you saw someone biff it into the giant pole in the middle of the mosh pit, or
Yeah. Jeez. The closest thing that I imagine now that I've been to, I think, is like that Union Sound Hall. I don't even know if they're still doing shows. I remember going to see Protest the Hero there.
Yeah, I saw Propaganda there one night
I
too.
think they were with like Intervals or one of those. Was it like Structures or something like that? I
Yeah.
can't remember. One of those. When Gent was new.
Yes.
Yeah, one of those bands. It was interesting when Gent came out. There was like 1 or 2 bands that I didn't immediately like put in the generic Gent category, you know. And then now some of those bands I'm realizing like actually are pretty not generic and good, like Intervals.
Yeah.
You know, like they got a lot of color and jazziness.
I mean, I always loved it for the brutalness that it was with Meshuggah.
Yeah, Meshuggah, I've tried to get into it a few times. I don't know what it is. I think I just haven't been in the right environment with it. I think I've even been driving long distance with my buddy Christian, and he played like an album, and I was just kind of like, I'm losing the definition, you know. But I think that's the point.
Yeah, well, I mean, having those weird off-time patterns and definitely using the... Yeah, I mean, odd time
And like
signatures.
it's so fast that it's almost a drone, you know, and it's so complicated that you can't really make out exactly what every little variation is happening. All you know is it's a bunch of crazy shit happening, and you know.
See, I the one album I always loved from them was the Nothing EP.
Yeah.
There was just that album, start to finish. It was a lot of defined picks, even with their stops and starts.
Yeah.
You could still pick up all their crazy little chugs, and
I think I might. That's also another factor, is getting the right selection, because I know there's a lot of bands that's like, if you listen to this album you won't like it, but if you listen to this one you will. Like, I think I would probably be much more inclined to the older Mastodon, like Crack the Sky and stuff.
See, as much as I love that, Once More Around the Sun is one of probably top 10 favorite CDs. There was something about just everything on that album, the way it came together and the way songs flowed together, and you know, if you're going to go for the overall picture of the album.
That's so cool how a band can have such interesting music that it even to have 2 people who like see it a little differently, that makes it more interesting. You know, that even adds value to Meshuggah.
Look at Opeth. They can go from being some of the craziest death metal, and then now they're playing folk music.
Really?
Yeah. Folk.
Weird.
Folk prog. And you know what? Still not bad. It's good.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he...
I wish I could play music on here without getting copyrighted.
Yeah, he got a little tired of just doing the same old, and he's like, okay, I want to do a prog album, and then put out a prog album. And it's all clean, very minimal distortion, no real screaming, and
Weird.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's kind of
I think they're on their 4th or 5th album of it now.
It reminds me of what King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard did this year. I think they put out like 5 or 6 albums this year, and they were all like totally different from each other. Like each one of them was like its own genre piece. I think one of them was like a folky one of them was like a rock one of them was a metal one of them was all about polyrhythms. That's probably my favorite one. One of them was jazzy. 6 albums in a year though, and I mean like good fucking material too. They must have just when you get to that state where it's just the creative flow is just pouring and you just can't stop with the ideas, and then it must suck for somebody in that situation where they're like, oh yeah, I just have nothing to do with my life but make this art now, and like the old school rock star who was like, okay, but 90% of what you make sucks according to the studio, and you have to have a very specific limiting sound, and that's why like all these bands get suckered into not being able to grow, like Metallica.
Well, look at Prince now. They're saying that they could release an album a month for the rest of our lives and still have new material that he had, full albums that he's done,
Yeah.
recorded everything for, mixed and mastered, and left in his vault, never saw the light of day.
It's crazy. Charlie Parker was like 39 when he died, but he must have made like 100 years worth of music.
Yeah.
You know. Sad how he died. Died like in his living room, I think, on the couch with a bottle in his hand of cirrhosis of the liver.
Well, I mean, look at Jacko.
Bad way to go. Oh.
Jacko Pastorius being beaten
God.
to death by a bouncer
Fucking-
after a...
He lost an eye in that fight.
Yeah.
I think he technically died in the hospital after, but still.
Yeah.
I think that might be all the time we actually got here for today. I think I'm out here,
Right on.
unfortunately. Yeah, gonna have to have you back though. We could go on and on.
I'm sure we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Air handshake that's not on camera. Yes.